Fuck it, we'll do it live. As he checks a test message. Test. Can't. This episode of the Unwashed Asses is brought to you, as always, by patreon.com/0and09. If you dig the show, you dig what I do here and on other shows like Zero Lives, head on over to patreon.com/0and09. Pitch in a buck, some geld. The German lessons are paying off. Buck a month, that's all I ask. It helps keep the show going, despite my best efforts to drive it straight into the ground. And you get some nice loot in there. I don't know, I haven't checked our Patreon in a while. Fuck, this is already going off the rails. So you might be able to tell I'm a little discombobulated. Woke up this morning not particularly feeling it. Feeling a little run down, tired. But isn't that how we started the show last week, where a man cries out, "I am tired. I am so tired all the time." And yeah, no different. Except this morning, it wasn't so much just being tired. You can feel that old monster depression creeping back in, where it's like your bed is comfortable yet disgusting. You should wash these sheets, and why not stay on Imager for another 3 hours doing absolutely fuck all? You don't even know what you're gonna talk about today. You haven't picked topics, and it's gonna be a train wreck anyways. And people listen to it, but fuck 'em. Who cares? And a whole lot of anxiety and stress about not being able to do the things I want to do. So I don't know. It was a revolving door of shit this morning. Like, oh, I'm feeling down and sad and boo-hoo, poor me. And then, Christian, you aren't getting anything done. You're accomplishing nothing with your life, and here's all these projects that you say you're going to work on but never do, and you should really make a calendar and put together a schedule and follow that. And well, what's the point in a schedule when you're doing nothing but working all the time? And so it kept going around and around, and then I got out of bed. And started moving, and folded some laundry and got a shower and picked up the house, and it's feeling better bit by bit. So it's been a very long time. Well, you listen to the show, you can track the last time I had a little depression breakdown episode. And it's been a while. I'm very happy about that. I'm very proud of the progress I've been making, and it's all due to keeping that forward momentum. Start doing something, keep doing something. As soon as I stop doing something and lose that momentum, that's when the depression takes hold and nothing gets done. So it was clean up the house, fold some laundry, pay my bills, which honestly didn't help things at all. I get my payday in, and fuck, I'm fat. Oh my god. So I go from having nothing to talk about to a billion things. So we're gonna try and I have 3 topics in mind, but this opening bit's probably gonna be a clusterfuck of different things. So yeah, I got paid today, and I was looking like, oh, the bank account's looking pretty nice, and it's like, oh wait, no. First of the month, that shit's right around the corner. Say bye-bye to all that money. And so I did that. I sat down and paid my bills, and then I looked at my bank account again, and he had gone from being a big, strong, healthy lumberjack boy to, please, sir, can I have some more? And he's a little waif of an orphan that I gotta be very attentive to nourish and help him flourish and grow, because it's gonna be a rough couple weeks. But you know what? Step by step, we're getting better. Before a couple months ago, I was dipping into the negatives to pay my rent and all my bills at the first of the month. Now I've got a little bit extra left over, so and keep on this track of working obscene amounts of overtime and not eating out every fucking day 2-3 times, and the money's gonna start coming back, and before you know it, we'll get rid of this fucking thing and get a decent microphone, and I won't have to take the lamps out of my bedroom to do lighting. I'll have an actual lighting rig, and as far as the background, you know what? I think the living room works. We got some knickknacks. We got my creepy ass painting sitting on the kitchen table, and my utility belt region area all scattered about, but it works. It works. I just hope that you guys can't hear the air conditioning running. It's been a really gorgeous past few days, but for whatever reason this morning, sorry, I'm super thirsty and super hungry. It got really, really hot. And so I'm like, fuck it. As I'm sitting here doing show prep and getting everything ready, it's like, oh god, I'm already sweating, and I'm not even like ranting and raving, so it's only going to get worse. Let's go ahead and turn on the air. So turned on the air, and yeah, I really hope you guys can't hear it. Oh no, fatness! Holy shit, I've got a fat fucking face. Looking at the live stream here, and it's mostly in the cheeks. I'm not, cute in like an adorable chipmunk way. It's like, ooh, you're like Jon Favreau when he let himself get awry, and I'm quickly approaching Jonah Hill territory, and not like, skinny, semi-hot Jonah Hill like he is now, like fucking whatever the movie was where he's wearing the turquoise short and he's blown up like a balloon, like who's the blueberry girl from Willy Wonka? That's what I'm feeling right now. So our weight loss challenge, approximately 0 of you have written in and decided to contribute, so fuck it, we're just going to keep tracking my weight, and I'm going to tell you every painful step of the way. We didn't do it last week because I hadn't made any progress. I got down to 225, and then I haven't lost anything more. I weighed myself again this morning and still at 225. So, 5 pounds loss is good. I want to still make forward momentum and keep going, but at least I'm not putting on any additional weight. I'm still at that little level. So I imagine once I actually start eating right and tracking calories and working out, then it'll come down. But until I actually start doing things, well, I can't expect anything to be lost. So with that, I did actually start paying attention to calories. Because I've been reading a lot of different places that it's all a matter of, doesn't matter what you eat so much as how much you eat. And so I didn't think I ate a whole hell of a lot, but when I actually started looking at the calories and what I was getting, then holy shit, I am eating a fuckload of food. Like, case in point, I love Subway. Subway is right up there with Taco Bell as far as, like, if I'm going to get fast food, usually one of those two places are my go-to. And the area I work in, I have one of two choices as far as fast food. It's either McDonald's or Subway, and so I almost always will go for Subway because it tastes better, and then I always think, well, it's healthier. It's fresh meats, and I get the veggies on there, and I'm not eating like fried food and all that shit. But when I looked at how many calories were in the meal I was getting, it made me sad and angry a little bit. So they say 2,000 calories a day is healthy. I was gauging for 1,500 as far as like losing weight, because I have a very physical, demanding job and I'm out in the sun, so I'm sweating like a motherfucker. And so I figured out 1,500. That's a good benchmark. The bitch of it is finding the calorie counts in the food that you're eating. So Subway actually makes it very nice and easy, where it's like, okay, here's the food you're getting. They even have it for like their drinks and cookies. Like, here's your estimated caloric intake, and so I typically will get foot-long tuna on Italian or white bread because I'm a plain basic bitch, and then we'll load that fucker up with I've been doing the pepper jack cheese and we'll do lettuce, tomato, green peppers, and then a nice healthy dose of the sweet onion sauce. But I will then combo that with, like, they have the Fuse raspberry tea, and I don't care what your diet or anything is. If you go to Subway, you have to get the white chocolate macadamia nut cookies. It's a given. They're delicious. They're fantastic. So I get two of those as well as my drink. I'll give you a couple seconds here to guess. That seems like a reasonably healthy meal. Like, it's seafood. It's not red meat. It's veggies. The breads are carbs. But again, I'm not looking at what I'm eating so much as how much I'm eating. How many calories do you think that would be? 12 inches of sandwich, a couple cookies, and tea. Not even like pop or soda, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Damn near 1,300 calories. That one meal could be my one meal for the entire day. That shit is terrifying. And granted, it fills me up. I'm very, very full when I eat it. And so I can, skip breakfast that day, hit an early lunch, and then be good until about 7 o'clock where it's time for dinner and I'm ravenous. But dinner, like, say I decide, I'm going to be a fat piece of shit, or it's been a really bad day and food is my comfort device, I'm going to go hit up the Taco Bell. Taco Bell is easily that, if not twice as many calories. If I come home and eat a Hungry Man meal, I haven't even looked at the content on those. I'm already over that 1,500 calorie mark. And it sucks. But you know what? I guess it's supposed to suck. You're supposed to suffer a little bit if you want to. It's like the laws of alchemy and transmutation. To get something, you must give up something. So I want a hot, fit bod, but I got to give up what I love, which is food. Or I can continue to indulge myself and eat sweet, sweet, delicious food, but then I have to give up that hot bod. So I have to decide, is my love for tacos less than my love for pecs? Is my love for svelte washboard abs greater than my love for steak and cheese subs? Or Oreos? Or Moose Tracks ice cream? Or Mountain Dew? Or Little Debbie's, little strawberry shortcake, or as it was recently reintroduced to me, the Cosmic Brownie. It's hard, but I'm confident that if I pay attention to the numbers, it's essentially a cheat sheet. It makes it easy for me, and then I can go ahead and just stick to that. It's like looking at it feels like I'm drowning in work. I'm not getting anything done, but then I look, like, I've written several chapters in the short story I want to get out. I produce 3 shows a week. I work 2 jobs, and I still find time to be social and engaging and go out on dates and interact with my friends, instead of a couple of years ago I would just stay at home and play Warcraft. So it's that little bit of sacrifice to gain something else. Like, I realize I'm never going to be the artist I want to be because I'm not investing the time necessary to learn new techniques and harness that skill and grow it. And that's okay, because there is that I want to do these other things more. As much as I enjoy drawing, it's very time consuming, and I look at that time as, how could I spend that time elsewhere doing other things? So I'm content. I'm perfectly alright being able to draw, unfunny cartoons every once in a while. And that's the other thing with the Emily Says Boo series. I wanted to do 1 comic a week, and I might, like, in the back of my head, it's screaming, you can find a way to squeeze it in, you can do this. I don't have to do it every week. I can, follow the Scott Johnson route as far as, like, putting up one whenever. And thing of weekly app review. I'm not burning through apps as much where I can put out one a week. It worked when I first got a smartphone and I was getting everything was new to me. Now, fuck it, just change the name. You don't have to do an app of the week. You can just do an app review. And so it's this not necessarily sacrifice, it's compromise as far as figuring out what I want to do and how I can make that happen. And the other thing is then putting together that schedule. I know I talked about it last week. I still have yet to do it as far as like, here's this hour, here's this hour, here's what I'm doing. And then I don't even have to think about like, oh, I haven't done any of this stuff. Where am I going to find all that bullshit? It's just like, okay, what's on the schedule here? Okay, 6 o'clock rolls around, stop what I'm doing, work on this. And then bit by bit, like the squirrel, I can go ahead and store away my nuts for the winter and be alright, because I didn't wait until like Tuesday because I had an extra hour on Tuesday to go out and get all the nuts I could. I'd been getting them little bit by little bit, so that allows me to get through cable guy school, which is just funny in its own right that we have college courses for cable guys. But you know what? Fuck it. If it makes me better at my job, I'm going to do it. Can find time for the webcomic. Can find time for exercise. We can find time for recording the shows and managing the HFC gaming network, and going out on dates and being social with my friends and doing all this normal adult shit. It's like, when I set this budget up and stop spending all my money, look at this. I'm not in the poorhouse all the time. I'm still fucking riding that line of poverty like a cheap whore, but it's getting better. And that's the thing. It's coming to terms that it's not all going to get better overnight, but by taking little steps with time, it will get better. And that's all it is just sticking to the plan. And not to say that there aren't going to be days where you wake up feeling like shit. The trick is not giving into that. It's continuing to move on. Because I don't remember who said it. Let me see if I can find it. Sorry. I'm so sorry. But it was a really good quote, and I don't want to fuck it up. I don't have it saved on this device, and I'm not going to look at all the others. So, but no, it was essentially that it went along the lines of depression's a funny thing. It makes me not want to do all the things that I need to do to get past it. And that's just it. I wanted to go spend a shitload of money on a nice lunch out and sit in bed all day and do nothing, and then I would have felt like shit. I would have had to go to work this afternoon and been like, well, what the fuck did you accomplish? And you spent all this money that you didn't want to spend. Instead, I got up, did what I need to do. I did my Thursday routine. You wake up, you clean the house, because it feels like, Sunday through Wednesday I'm just surviving. I'm doing what I can just to get through the work week because I'm exhausted by the time I get home and I wake up tired. So Thursday's like my day where, all right, I'm going to pick up the house, we're going to do some laundry, we're going to do show prep, we're going to record, and then manage the network, upload stuff to YouTube and get all that other stuff done. And if I have time for other stuff, great, we'll play some video games. And write some and do all this stuff where nobody's demanding my time because it's a Thursday morning and afternoon. And it's going to work. I'm going to get through it. I already feel better. And yeah, I definitely am not talking about what I want to talk about, but it feels good to vent, and it's my show, so I will talk about and vent on whatever I like, and hopefully you gain something useful out of it and can apply it to your own life in some way, because that's what I wanted for Zero Lives, which kind of turned into this, which was something else entirely at the beginning. And while I don't necessarily want to dwell on and talk about depression, you have to, sometimes you have to vent. Uh, and if I'm talking to the void, in this case not the personified void who is one specific individual, but rather the void that is this audience, then I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna do that. So yeah, I'm hungry. So I tried Anchor last week because it seems to be all the rage. Everybody's digging it. Everybody's into it. I put up a test post, which was funny because it was just testing out the app on my phone, and I even misspelled test. It was TEDT, and it got some traction. It got some feedback. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, everybody really seemed to like the driving home episode on 2 weeks ago, that Thursday. So I'm like, well, fuck it. I'll go ahead and I'll upload that. I'll record using Anchor, their app, and I'll upload it to that, and we'll see if we can build an audience, further the brand and use that. And so it was like a 40-minute bitch fest, me just complaining about everything. And then it was good. It was cathartic. I said a lot of things I shouldn't. But when I got home, I found out it didn't record any of it. Like, for whatever reason, and I had tested it using the lock on my phone. Like, okay, well, if I lock my phone, and will it keep recording? And it did in my tests, but for whatever reason, and I haven't tested with it further, it ooh, I gotta turn off alerts. Sorry about that. For whatever reason, it didn't keep, and so I was pissed. I was furious. It didn't record, which is good because I really wasn't, like, in hindsight again, I said a lot of things I shouldn't say, and so it was good. It didn't record, but it really soured me to the whole Anchor platform. Like, I get it. There's a lot of traction there, and it's growing. And if I can get in on the ground floor, then it'll help. But I don't know. I'm gonna try again. Not necessarily. I'm not gonna record with the Anchor app tonight, but we'll do it with the typical voice recorder that I use for this show, and we'll see how it turns out, and play with that. With that, as far as like different platforms and whatnot are concerned, I've been thinking about it for a while, but I'm really torn about it, because as it stands right now, I upload. This is the only show that I do an audio format for, so that goes up into the RSS feed. But for the other video stuff like Zero Lives and then the video version of this, I've been putting it in two places. My personal YouTube page, and then the HOC YouTube page. And I want to put it all on the HOC page, but it feels like I'm cheating myself, even though I own both of them and I'm trying to grow the network. But it's almost too much work to manage both of them. And again, it comes to that sacrifice. and looking at the network and the people involved with the network. I don't want to throw shade or be a dick, but some days and nights and weeks it feels like I'm the only one doing anything. I know Tom's really, really good about doing the LunaCraft every Tuesday, but our Wednesday and Thursday night slots haven't been filled with any regularity. And if I'm doing 3 of the 4 shows, it's not much of a network. It's just Christian wasting a lot of time. And while I enjoy doing them, I have to change my thinking about it. Is it actually going to be a network, or should I just stick to my own personal YouTube page and just upload shit there? Whereas, like last week, I was all rah rah. I updated the website, did a big overhaul on that, and got new links up. So if you head over to horrorofcthulhu.com, you can get into the Discord, you can get into the Slack. I got the Patreon updated and put in new rewards and things like that. And went full whole hog. And then, like Tuesday night, I know Tom was going to broadcast, and then I didn't get on Twitter to make a post for that. And then I think to myself, well, he's got the credentials. He could promote his own shit. Why am I having to do all the work? And, Wednesday night has just fallen through entirely. Thursday night, we're running like a test show, but when I checked, I didn't see a feed for it. And again, still nothing on the Twitter. And I feel like a dick complaining about this, but one of my biggest pet peeves is having my time wasted. So if we're gonna go in and work on something, then I kind of expect the same effort from everyone involved. And when I don't see it, I get incredibly frustrated and disappointed. There's no two ways about it. I love doing what I do, but I don't want to keep working on something futile. Essentially, that I can rebrand or refocus my energies and efforts, and maybe go at it with a different angle. Maybe try to find different partners. I don't know. Because I like the idea of having a network where there's entertaining shows that people can come to and watch and participate in and build said audience. But if I'm going to be honest, the Unwashed Asses is the biggest draw right now. I don't look at numbers, but this is the one that gets the most feedback. Friday Night Smite had a really good audience, and it's whittled away a little bit by little bit, and I know probably the biggest part of it is promotion. We don't promote the shows nearly enough. We have to be our own cheerleaders and scream at the top of our lungs to any and all, and I don't do that. I should do that, but I don't. I feel awkward about promoting my own stuff because I have this horrible complex where I'm a shitty human being and everything I do is awful, and why would anybody want to watch it? When I know, in fact, it's not the case. I'm a shitty human being, but the stuff I produce isn't shit. Like, I was looking at last week's episode of Friday Night Smite, and I was super pleased with the quality. Our audio was on point. Bob had sorted his mic cutting out issue. Everything seemed very balanced as far as like game sound and the mics were concerned. The frame rate was super smooth, and everything worked with that. So we have it there. We just don't have people that watch and don't have active participation. And so when I compare it to like other shows that I watch produced by other people, it's like, okay, we're mimicking, we're doing a lot of the same stuff. We just don't have the audience. And so I don't know if it's a thing like we're too much like other folks. We're just parrots. We're not innovating, or is it just a thing of not enough promotion where we're not getting in enough faces? I don't know. I honestly don't know, and that's probably the biggest thing. Like, a lot of this, they're excuses. Zero Lives is an excuse for me to have an hour to myself to play a video game once a week. Friday Night Smite is an excuse for me to play games with two of my best friends for 3 hours. This show is an excuse for me to bitch, even though I want to think that I'm helping or saying something intriguing or inspired and making decent points. It's me rambling for an hour. And I understand that's what a lot of, one mic podcasts are. It's rambling for an hour. Like, I listen to Bill Burr's show. He puts out 2 episodes a week, and it's him rambling for an hour as far as, like, his daughter, his wife, gigs he's doing, watching MotoGP, drumming. It's just him recapping the last week of his life. And the way he does it is interesting and entertaining, whereas because of the industry I'm in, I can't necessarily share the cable stories. I'm still in fear of losing my job if I start extrapolating on some of those stories, which sucks because I had some weird wacky shit happen this past week. And then everything I do outside of it, you guys get everything. I publish damn near everything that I do for fun. So I don't know. I need feedback. More than anything, I need to know that people are listening. I need to know that what we're doing is worthwhile and that I can continue working on producing these shows and not wasting my time. Because, again, I wanted to move all of my shows over to the HFC YouTube page, but I know people still watch on mine. I get more views with that. The subscription numbers aren't going up. The watch minutes aren't going up. And it feels like as much effort and energy. It's effectively, the amount of hours that I'm putting in, it's another part-time job. And it's frustrating. Part of me really wants to go and say, fuck doing all of this. And I'm just going to go play World of Warcraft. But I realize things don't grow overnight. I've been doing Zero Lives off and on without any regularity until this past year for several years. It's changed a lot. It's gotten a lot better. I really enjoy the show. The Unwashed Asses concept was vastly different, but I didn't actually start recording until the start of this year, and we've been doing it regularly, and it's that regularity that's helped, like a good glass of Metamucil helps keep things flowing, and then that's where it gets healthy and we flourish, like healthy stool samples. And then when I finally did an episode count for Friday Night Smite, we've been doing it for half a year. And shows aren't going to take off overnight unless you have a name behind them. And to be frank, we're all no names. Nobody knows us. Nobody gives a shit. That's why we either have to A, be the best at the thing we're doing, which we're not, or B, be entertaining. And I think we're fairly entertaining, but again, I'm a bit biased. I think I'm the funniest motherfucker in a room most of the time, despite my humor being offset and off-putting. And it's discouraging. And this could be, the depression talking. Which brings me to, there's a really good conversation between George R. R. Martin and Stephen King, where Martin is saying, how the fuck do you write so many books so fast? I think, I've had a really good 6 months. I've written 3 chapters. You've finished 3 books in that time. King replies, the way that I work, I try to get out there and I try to get 6 pages a day, and I try to get them fairly clean. So if the manuscript is, say, 360 pages long, that's basically 2 months' work. Martin replies, and you do hit 6 pages a day? King replies, I usually do. Martin, you don't ever have a day where you sit down there and it's like constipation and you write a sentence and you hate that sentence and you check your email and you wonder if you had any talent after all, and maybe you should have been a plumber. Don't you ever have days like that? And King just replies, no. And that's the state I'm in right now, where I think everything I'm putting out is just absolute dog shit, and I'm not happy with it. Mostly because I'm not getting the feedback. We're not getting any revenue. It's a hobby that's not producing. But hobbies don't necessarily have to produce. So I don't know. This is very like inside baseball and bitching, and I know if anybody else on the network listens or it gets back to them, there might be some kerfluffle, but I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest. And that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm gonna keep doing it. I'll get past this, I will. But fuck, this like really didn't want to talk about this stuff. But oh well, it's out there. What are you gonna do? So let's do a change of play here. Warcraft. I've recently gotten back into the world of Warcraft. It started with I was trying to write last week, and when I write, I can't listen to anything with lyrics. I just get distracted. I can't keep like a movie going on in the background. I'll just sit and watch the movie. So it has to be like soundtracks usually work. And I love gaming soundtracks. And there's this site, this channel on YouTube put out by a fellow called Everness, I think it is, where he takes ambient noises and soundtracks from games. A lot of it's like Skyrim and World of Warcraft, and he'll put it on this like loop, and so it's like an hour-long thing. So I've been listening to the Warcraft stuff like Karazhan, Duskwood, Gilneas, and like Westfall, and it really gets the nostalgia wheel cranked, and it keeps going and going, and I'm into it. And before you know it, the nostalgia is then like getting in full force. Like, oh, I should go play. I want to play Warcraft. Because I realize that's what Warcraft is for me. It's not a game like I actively enjoy playing. Like when Legion came out, I went whole hog, got really into it, was into the progression and all that, and then got burned out, as you do with WoW. So I'm trying to fight it. Like anytime I get the itch to play WoW again, I tell myself, no, wait. You don't really want to play it. You just want that hit of nostalgia. You know, you want to do a line of good times and memories. And I'll hold out and I'll hold out and I'll hold out, and then all of a sudden I'm resubscribed. And that's what happened this time. I'd been fighting it, and I finally bit the bullet. And you know what I did? As soon as I got back in, I started doing all the old content. Like I on my paladin, who's sitting at 104, I could continue questing through the areas in Legion to get to endgame stuff, or even my Shadow Priest, who's at 110 and has cleared 2 areas. I could clear the other zones with her and finish out the game. Instead, I go to my paladin, who's not even max level, and I start doing the Argent tournament content again, and keep working on the mining for a profession I'm not even going to use in my garrison. And it's all about the memories. Like I have so many memories because I played through a lot of Warlords with somebody, and there's so many memories tied into like that garrison and everything that happened there. And same thing with like Lich King, where Lich King is by far my favorite expansion, and I really like the Argent tournament, so I'm going and redoing all that content on a character for an expansion that's several years old, and like there are still some nice rewards, but I'm not doing the new stuff. Like last night, I finally started progressing on some of the class hall quests, and I was in Azshara or Azuna, I don't remember. And I did 2 of the quests. Now, granted, questing as a healing class really fucking sucks. It's hard, but I don't know. Like, I imagine after a while I'm gonna get tired of it, as I always do, and get burned out. But Warcraft is always going to be one of those games where I come back to it because it was so enjoyable. I have so many good memories tied up into it. And they produce really engaging, compelling content. But there's so much of it, and I always bitch now about how little time I have. I definitely don't have time to be investing into something as big as Warcraft is, especially if I don't have like a full blown guild or a party of people to roll with. That was the other thing with Warcraft, was the social aspect, and like, oh, we're all gonna mount up on our frost sabers and go fuck up people in AV. And I don't have that right now. I have one person that I'm tentatively going to be playing with, and while that was one of my best experiences in WoW, was playing, exclusively with one person, I don't know. I overthink things too much. I need to just sit back and kind of go with the flow. And this is a really fucked up episode. I'm sorry. Like, it's a lot of venting and bitching, and it shouldn't be, but it is, and I'm sorry. Like, what did I promise in the well, I guess I don't know. Because on Twitter I promoted as Depression, Cthulhu, and Warcraft, and we've hit 2 of the 3. And you know what? Let's fuck it. Let's dive right into that third old topic here. I love that buffer. That might be my favorite buffer. I'm a huge fan of Murgo's Lullaby, but after having played through Portal, that's one of my favorite tracks. So I promised it last week and didn't get around to it. I didn't do the prep, but I wanted to cover the Call of Cthulhu trailer that got released and announced. But I didn't figure out how to... Sorry, stretch. I'm still really sleepy and tired. I'm starving. But I didn't figure out how to import the video, but... Ta-da! So, wanted to do a breakdown of the trailer itself, comparison to what actually happened in the Cthulhu Call of Cthulhu story, because they're saying this is like an official adaptation. So let's go ahead. We'll, as Lucio says, break it down. I'm gonna want to resize this, but okay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm super unprofessional, resizing the window in the middle of the stream, covering up my face because I'm a big old dummy. Okay. I have to resize it because I'm blind. Oh shit. I'm sorry. Apparently I can't hit stop. I have to hit pause. This is really bad. Okay, so opens up. Focus Home Interactive presents. It looks like we're in a... It's going to be a New England town because that's how Lovecraft operates, but it looks like a dock or a pier, and there's a big sign saying "Welcome to Darkwater." And there's a cop standing there with... It's either a cop or a fisherman. He's got what's either a British cop bowler on or It's the Gordon's Fisherman hat. Game by Cyanide Studio. There's a house up on a hill. So if we go back to this scene here, there's what looks like a car before a wrought iron gate in the middle of some misty woods. And we hear some people talking in the background.
See, Margaret, when the way his hands are trembling, the subject's brain is still functioning, in spite of the post-traumatic.
So we hear somebody talking to a Margaret saying, see here, his brain's still functioning despite da 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 da. So there's some type of narration or something going on in the background that's not necessarily applicable to what we're seeing on the screen itself. We got a guy waving a lantern in front of a grave that says Sarah Hawkins, 1892 to 1924, a great artist, affectionate mother, and true friend. We're looking at a big old creepy mansion. Now we're inside looking at a table.
Sometimes regains consciousness.
So it's quick shots throughout the mansion itself, as far as we're looking at like a dining table, we're looking at a foyer with a beautiful chandelier, we're looking at a living room or sitting room, and the character picks up a bust of a woman, and it's been disfigured in a very creepy fashion. We're looking at a painting room where there's drapes over the paintings themselves, but there's this overall sense of uneasiness and disarray. Things are scattered and kind of strewn about.
And sing acting.
Hey, you! Stop right there!
So things have picked up. We heard some creaking. We saw somebody running away through a hallway. Characters given chase, and now things are becoming more distorted, where the paintings that are surrounding him are coming to life. Not like coming out of the paintings and after him, but they're moving and morphing. It's very reminiscent of like Layers of Fear at this point.
Come on, come back here!
So, several more very quick shots of the mansion itself we're exploring. The camera's spinning, it's distorted, it's disorienting. We see a set of eyes kind of superimposed on the screen and coming into focus slightly. And now there's an open bookcase with a secret passageway leading down some stairs. The stairs themselves are in a mining cavern. There's some very crude joists holding everything up. And the stairs go down into this cavern, where we see some candles and incense lit everywhere, some boxes, and a figure walking through.
What do we recommend in this kind of situation, Margaret?
So we see more of these several robed figures. One is cutting up bits of meat. It's hard to tell what it is. It looks like it might either be body parts. Well, body parts. It looks like it might either be human. I'm leaning towards squid. Not sure. It's very human-sized, but it's not human-like. So it could be another one of Lovecraft's creatures. He loved doing that. Well, it's the size of a man, but it's got aquatic characteristics. Characters holding up what looks to be a necklace. It's a circular pendant going off into what looks like little tentacles. Makes sense if it's Cthulhu and this cult is worshipping him. It could be, one of Cthulhu's defining attributes is the squid face.
He making progress, Margaret.
So we see something kind of flash up as the character's holding that pendant. Let's see if we can go back and see what it is. Rewind. Enhance. Okay, so it's definitely a tentacle. And we're going to take it forward frame by frame. So the character's wearing a ring, but it's not on his left hand. He's not married. Or if he is, we're not seeing that hand. So it's not easy to make out what's behind the tentacle itself. So we'll keep going.
Yeah, you're making progress, Margaret. But you must keep studying.
So the voice is saying, we're making progress, Margaret. We must keep studying. So there is another narrative happening behind what we're seeing. And as we look now, characters still in the caves, and there are more of the robed figures, but now they're approaching him. So one of them's grabbing him, but the robe and the mask that he's wearing, which is kind of scarred and cut up, is switching to a face, a bearded man with some goggles. However, what's more interesting is what's happening in the background, where there is a creature. And that's the best way to describe it, creature. I'm not going to be a hack like Lovecraft. So the creature is very thin and gaunt. It has spider-like appendages. It appears to be standing on two legs, has two arms out, but it has another two arms behind it which look like wings. It's kind of skeletal in nature, very skinny torso, a big head, but it's holding up what looks to be another person or creature, and it's raising them up. And then we focus back to the guy grabbing our character here. Okay, so character gets pulled back, and it appears to be an underwater area where we have it looks like it's a city in a weird makeshift way, made of coral. There are skeletons, looks like a whale skeleton, and maybe a whale off to the side here, but it has a very cosmic and otherworldly feel. My theory is that this might be the city of Ryla, where Cthulhu sleeps and slumbers, the ancient city from the stars that has been formed on Earth in the Pacific. So it zooms out more, and it's just more of this big mess. Essentially, it's more of the same, where there looks to be corpses of whales everywhere, but we're definitely underwater.
Mr. Pierce, can you hear me?
Mason!
Everything is fine.
So, guy wakes up. He's in a hospital bed. There's a nurse coming to check on him. There's a woman looking out a window, facing away from us. And then there is the doctor, who had been alternating with one of the cultists in his visage.
Pierce, can you hear me?
Mason!
Everything is fine, Mr. Pierce.
What the hell am I doing here?
It was just a nightmare.
I was...
So Margaret is the other nurse here, and she has a large needle, a large syringe that I imagine we're going to get injected with to calm down.
There!
Mr. Pierce, don't
Have
move.
to get back
You
there.
have to rest.
No, but the dreams, they were real.
Only time can heal
I
your
have
affliction.
to...
So, he's apparently dreaming. He's seeing a place that he believes is real. He has to get back there. He's in a hospital being treated by a doctor and nurses that don't believe him. This lines up with the Call of Cthulhu story, where as Cthulhu was rustling and close to awakening, folks with artistic inclinations were being granted visions, almost in a state of mania, where they would see the city of Ryla and be able to describe it, and they could see Cthulhu, to the point where one of the characters in the story is an artist who sculpts a little statue of him, which is identical to several other statues that are found in the story itself. So this part lines up where the character names aren't matching what's in the book itself, but we're getting hints of the actual story itself, so maybe they're just fleshing things out. So the last few shots were just of the guy before the gates with his lantern again, and then we had a pier with old-timey ships going out to sea. So if we go back to, I'm going to pull up the YouTube video itself here and see if we can get the description. History. Okay, so their description is plunge into the troubled mind of private investigator Edward Pierce. As his perception of reality becomes more and more skewed, the closer he gets to the great dreamer's sphere of influence. Sent to Darkwater Island to uncover the truth behind a mysterious death of a family, your original assignment spirals out of control against a backdrop of suspicious locals, mutilated whales, and disappearing bodies. Pierce's mind will suffer, balancing a razor-thin line between sanity and madness. Your senses will be disrupted until you question the reality of everything around you. Trust no one. Creeping shadows hide lurking figures. And all the while, the great dreamer prepares for his awakening. Lovecraft's twisted universe will come to life when Call of Cthulhu releases on PlayStation 4. So, one, I just realized now, another PlayStation exclusive. God fucking damn it. But Edward Pierce isn't a character from the book that I remember. And I pulled up the essentially Cliff Notes version of it. And look for characters. No. So the only police officer we had was John Raymond LaGrasse, who was working across the country, but his part of the story primarily focused in Louisiana, investigating a cult where flying creatures were helping them abduct women and children to sacrifice for Cthulhu. And he's also not the art student, Henry Anthony Wilcox, or the narrator himself, Francis Wayland Thurston. So none of the characters line up with who was displayed in the trailer. So despite being an official game, they're clearly taking some liberties and introducing new characters, which could be good. But as far as like Lovecraft's works are like, my opinion of Lovecraft's works, Call of Cthulhu was definitely his best. And it could work as far as like a detective story or a mystery where you're putting pieces together and you're playing the different characters and these different things, because there's a lot of really good stuff that happens in it. But the way this trailer's presented, it looks like it could be an Amnesia or Layers of Fear, where it's essentially you're walking around and exploring and getting creeped out along the way, which Lovecraft inspired a lot of. I mean, Amnesia takes heavily from his works with you're very passive in what happens. You can't directly affect things. The monsters themselves are terrifying and beyond description, and you have this lapse of sanity when they're around. And I can't think of a single story of Lovecraft where a gun was fired. So they're not action-oriented. The humans are definitely the weak ones in this and can only do what they will to survive and get away from these eldritch horrors. So seeing an actual Lovecraft story come into a genre of games that it inspired is good. It's refreshing. And I shouldn't say refreshing, but it fits. But I'm concerned about how many liberties they're going to take. Which isn't, all bad, because sometimes you take liberties and you create something great. Look at the Guardians of the Galaxy. If they had stuck straight to the books, Star-Lord's kind of a dope in the comics. I'm not a terrible fan. And the movies themselves, they aesthetically differ greatly from the comics, but it works. I greatly enjoy the movies. They're my favorite MCU property. So they could do something similar with this and have it work. But it lines up as far as somebody is in a hospital. They're clearly artsy. There's many art references, especially to the one lady's grave, and then the art supplies around the house. So, of course, they're going to be more apt to be influenced by Cthulhu. And then, of course, we have the cult that is sacrificing things to Cthulhu, which lines up with the story itself. But it sounds like they're doing a different tone as far as like, oh, it's this one guy investigating it instead of several stories intertwined. I just hope they don't do the stereotypical good against evil, like Cthulhu's rising to take over Madagascar so he can build a political empire, and he's a bad guy from another dimension, blah, 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 blah. As long as they don't, because that was a big deal when Cthulhu's stories started coming out that weren't written directly by Lovecraft. They got very generic very quickly, and it's like, oh, we have this pantheon of eldritch gods, and they're related to one another, and there's some infighting, and I don't consider that shit canon. It doesn't work. So I'm hoping they don't do that to this story. I guess time will tell. Yet another reason to get a PlayStation. Fuck me. But oh well. That filled up an hour. I'm sorry. Today's episode was fucky, but again, it had to happen. I'm gonna go eat. And again, check out the Horror of Cthulhu YouTube page. That's where all the videos get posted, including this one. I'm gonna work today to get this show up on Spotify. And, of course, you can always get it at iTunes, Google Play Music, and SoundCloud, and essentially anywhere you can get shows. I try to put it up there. And yeah, of course, check out our other shows. As much as I bitch about them, go ahead and check them out. But I think that's going to do it. If you want to write the show, theunwashedasses@gmail.com. Again, theunwashedasses@gmail.com. Whatever we talked about, whatever you want to talk about, I'll read it on air. We'll discuss it together in a very delayed two-way conversation. And, of course, you can always hit up the Twitter at unwashed_asses. But I think that is going to do it.
I can feel the end, it's drawing near. It will soon be here. Oh, that much is clear. So shut the doors and turn off the lights. Let us sleep tonight. Let us huddle in the dark. Oh, my lover, you are beautiful, But that beauty comes at such a price. And I know that you'll soon disappear, like the dark and the night.
This show is part of the HFC Gaming Network. Get more at horrorofcasitis.com.